So, you're in your Minecraft world playing with a friend or something, and they show you this mysterious object right here, and they call it an enchantment table. And you're wondering, what can I do with this thing? It doesn't seem very useful. I know it's got a cool book that flips back and forth on top of it, but what does it actually do? Well, basically, this is one of the best items you can have in Minecraft because it gives you something called enchantments, and they are extremely useful. Welcome back everybody to another Minecraft tutorial video. This one we're going to be going through enchanting, all of enchanting in Minecraft. Yes, that's right, I'm going to go through the whole thing because they've added a few new enchantments in the last few updates and I kind of want to go through those and tell people what all the new ones do and stuff like that. So I'm going to go through a full guide on enchanting in Minecraft. This will be a bit of a long video I think, but hopefully it won't be too long. So I'll go through literally step by step how to enchant and the different enchantments you can get and what they do. So to start off by enchanting in Minecraft, the first thing you want to do is make yourself an enchantment table, of course. Now, it is pretty expensive, of course, because it does do very cool stuff. So to craft it, it will be 4 obsidian and 2 diamonds, as well as a book. So you, of course, will need 5 diamonds, in theory, to get an enchanting table, unless you happen to find obsidian in a blacksmith or something like that in a village. So, yeah, you will need, of course, like, at least 2 diamonds to make this, probably 5 in theory. So you can craft it like this, and this is what it looks like once you open it. This used to not be here. It used to not need lapis to enchant, but that's part of 1.8's update, which makes you need lapis to enchant your items. To actually use an enchantment table in Minecraft, you will need something called experience levels, which you can see down here at your hotbar. So currently my level is 26, and you can tell how close you are to the next level by looking at this experience bar down here at the bottom. And when it gets to full, you move to the next level and it starts over again. You can get experience in Minecraft by smelting, mining, killing mobs, breeding, a bunch of different stuff. So just basically play the game and you'll get levels, is what I'm trying to say. And not all blocks will drop experience when you mine them, but most ores will, so just keep that in mind. You can also get experience by getting bottles of experience, which are quite rare in your Minecraft world. You can only really get them by trading with certain villagers for emeralds. So that's kind of the only way to get bottles of experience, to give yourself more levels. But once you have some levels in Minecraft, what you can do is you can place your item. It can be a sword, it can be a bow, a crossbow, a fishing rod, any kind of armor, any pickaxe, any axe, any shovel, any hoe, anything like that. Basically, you can enchant in Minecraft. So as you can see, I place my wooden sword in here and I get some of these guys, which are called enchantments. Now to get this, which is going to be sharpness 1, and I'll go through the different enchantments in a second, but basically to get this, it's going to cost me 1 level on the left side here. It's going to cost me 1 level to enchant it, so I'll be on 26 after I enchant, and it will also require me to have 1 level as well. So the difference between it requiring 1 level to enchant is that you just have to have 1 level. Like, it won't use that level, but you have to have 1 level to enchant. But it will take away 1 level once you do enchant. So that's what you have to keep in mind. And then for this one, which is the bottom one, it requires me to have 4 levels. So if I have 4 levels, I can get this enchantment, but it will take away 3 levels when I enchant it, if that makes sense to you. Now, these enchantments are very low level because enchantment tables on their own will only go up to as far as probably level 6 or 7 over here. But if you put books around your enchantment table, bookshelves, you can get much higher level enchantments, up to level 30. Level 30 is the highest enchantment you can get in Minecraft, and it will cost you 3 levels for the bottom enchantment every time. So to make these bookshelves, you will need 6 oak planks, or 6 vanny planks, sorry, and 3 books in between those, and that'll give you 1 bookshelf. And you'll need a minimum of about 10. You'll need 16 bookshelves minimum to get your maximum level 30 enchantment. It could even be a bit less, I'm not sure. You'll have to experiment a bit with that, but this is the kind of recommended pattern of bookshelves around your enchantment table to get your max enchantment. And as I said before, as of 1.8, you need lapis lazuli to enchant your items. So we're going to grab some lapis here. I'm going to show you how to enchant. I'm going to get to level 30 so I can show you this properly. So we're at 28 now, 29, and level 30. There we go. Perfect amount of bottles. Okay, so we're going to put in our wood sword. As you can see, we have Bane of Arthropods 1 as our level 1 enchantment. Obviously, lower level enchantments are worse, and the highest level enchantment in your enchantment table with maximum books is going to be very good most of the time. You can get bad ones, of course, but most of the time you'll get a good enchantment. So For our level 30 enchantment here, it'll cost 3 levels for me to enchant, so I'll go back to 27, but it requires me to have 30 levels to enchant it. So I only have to have 30 levels, and it'll take away 3 once I do enchant. So I'm going to put this in here, and as you can see, the levels are now, I can actually get the levels because I put the lapis lazuli. It requires lapis lazuli. Like, I can't enchant this sword. I can't click on any of these things without lapis lazuli in. So if I put the lapis lazuli in, I can now click on these things and I can get an enchantment on my sword. So my options are Bane of Arthropods 1, I can get Sharpness 1 or Sharpness 4. Sharpness 4 is very good. So to enchant with Sharpness 4, it'll cost me 3 Lapis Lazuli and 3 enchantment levels. To get me Sharpness 1, it'll cost 2 Lapis Lazuli and 2 enchantment levels. To get Bane of Arthropods 1, it'll cost 1 Lapis Lazuli and 1 enchantment level. These will be different every time. It'll be the same for the same weapon you put into the enchantment table. But if you enchant something different and then come back to the enchantment table, it'll be a different enchantment on your item. So right now I'm going to get Sharpness 4 just for the sake of the video. And as you can see, my wooden sword will now have Sharpness 4 and Unbreaking 3. And the reason it has that Unbreaking 3 is because items have a random chance to get an extra enchantment every time. So the first enchantment you see is just your guaranteed enchantment. So this is guaranteed knockback 2, but it could also have Unbreaking 3 and maybe Sharpness or something like that. It can also get a second enchantment or a third one if you're very lucky. So it's not just a guaranteed Sharpness 1 and that's it. You can get something else with that, you know. So I'm going to go for Smite 2 here and see it's just Smite 2. So it can have an extra, it doesn't mean it will, it can have an extra enchantment when you do enchant. So that is the basics to enchanting in Minecraft anyway. That's what you kind of need to know just for enchanting your standard gear. You can enchant your iron or diamond gear with that, and that's fine, of course. But if you want to go a step further and get something really, really good, like I'm talking max protection, max sharpness on your items and stuff, you will need to use an anvil. You will need to use an anvil. And another effective way of getting the enchantments you want is by using books. You can use a book in your enchantment table. You can enchant their book and it can get any enchantment in the game on your book. So certain items, like a sword for example, can only get sharpness, Bane of Arthropods, smiting, and like fire aspect, and I think that's it. But other items can get different enchantments, so like only armor can get protection and stuff like that. So a book can get literally any enchantment in the game. Like for example, piercing is a crossbow enchantment, unbreaking can be applied to anything, and Bane of Arthropods is only for swords and axes, I think. So yeah, a book can get any enchantment, and then if you get a really lucky book enchantment, like say Sharpness 4 or Protection 4, what you can do is, if I were to get Sharpness 4 on my book here, and I have Sharpness 4 on my sword, what I can do is I can combine them in an anvil. So if I put my sword in here with the book in here, say this was enchanted with Sharpness 4, then I would get a Sharpness 5 wooden sword when I combine these two, and it'll cost me a lot of levels to enchant it, obviously, because it's a very good enchantment, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. And you can also, for the sake of this, I'm just going to enchant this sword with Sharpness 4. Oh, I didn't target myself. Whoops. So I've enchanted this extra sword with Sharpness 4, and now what I can do is I'll go over to my anvil here, and I'll put Sharpness 4 with Sharpness 4, and it'll give me Sharpness 5, and it'll also keep my Unbreaking enchantment on the first sword as well. It'll cost me 11 levels. It'll cost less if I use a sword with, say, broken durability. If there's durability gone on the first sword, it'll cost a bit more to repair it. But if I'm combining a less used sword, or like a more used sword with... So say this was full durability and this wasn't full durability, it would cost less than if I were to switch them around. You get the gist of it. That's kind of more advanced stuff, but for now, all you need to know is Sharpness 4 plus Sharpness 4 will equal Sharpness 5. So it's not the same as, you know, I won't get Sharpness like 8 if I combine these two. It doesn't work that way. So Sharpness 1 and Sharpness 1 is Sharpness 2, Sharpness 2 and Sharpness 2 is Sharpness 3, and you can't combine a lower level Sharpness with a higher level Sharpness and expect to get more. It doesn't work that way. So if I combine Sharpness 1 with Sharpness 2, it'll be Sharpness 2. It won't be Sharpness 3. If I combine Sharpness 2 with Sharpness 2, it'll be Sharpness 3, not 4. So for now, I'm going to grab this Sharpness 5 sword, and yeah, very, very good sword because it's got the max enchantment that is available. So Sharpness goes up as far as 5, if you didn't know. And to make an anvil, you actually will need 4 iron ingots and 3 blocks of iron. So that's 27, that's 31 iron you will need to make yourself an anvil. So it's not it's really worth it in the long run. Trust me. I know it's a lot of iron. It sounds like a lot of iron, but it's actually not that much when you mine for like a decent amount of time. Um, Definitely something worth having though, especially if you have an enchantment table. You can pretty much get like gear that's way worth more than the anvil costs in the first place. So yeah, definitely a good thing to get in your Minecraft world. And as of 1.14, this item was added to the game, and this is called a grindstone. And a grindstone can be crafted using 2 planks, 2 sticks, and 1 stone slab, like that. And it looks something like this. It's a brand new item in the game. Well, not brand new. It's 1.14, which is pretty new, and considering I've played since like 1.6 or 7 or something like that. So yeah. But if you place your enchanted item, any enchantment item in here, you have a chance to, you have an option to remove your enchantments from the item, and you'll get some experience back. It won't be as much as you enchanted for, but you'll get a tiny bit of your experience back when you remove the enchantment. And if it's a really good enchantment, you'll get a lot more experience for that. So you can also repair an item by placing 2 of them in here, and they'll give you more durability on the item once you take it out. So if I take out this sword now, as you can see, I got a bit of experience back there. You saw the orbs coming out, my level went up a bit, and the enchantment is gone from this wood sword. So that's why grindstone is very useful, because sometimes in the game you can get enchantments that are not very good, and you want to get rid of them to try again with your enchantment table. You can just use a grindstone and take the enchantment straight off and try again, basically. So that is the basics of enchanting in Minecraft as of 1.16. They haven't added anything new or different yet in this update, so that's kind of everything you need to know about that now. So now we'll get on to all the different enchantments. Okay, so the first thing to know is certain enchantments can only be applied to certain tools and weapons. So protection can only be applied to armor, efficiency can only be applied to tools, sharpness can only be applied to swords and axes, that kind of thing. So these are the 3 enchantments in the game that can be applied to anything with durability whatsoever. So the first one we've got here is Unbreaking 3. That can be applied to anything that has durability, which is anything you can enchant, pretty much. Armor, tools, weapons, anything like that. So Unbreaking 3, really good. It goes from levels 1 to 3. 3 is the max level for Unbreaking. The next one is Mending. Mending basically means that once you gain experience, so if you're wearing, say, a chest plate with Mending on it and you get experience, the experience will actually repair your durability. You won't get any more levels in your hotbar, but you will get more durability on your chest plate when you do get those levels. Experience basically experience raises your durability on your chest plate. So it's kind of a way to have an unlimited durability, as long as you're getting experience for your damage that you're taking. So it's a really good enchantment. It's a really rare one that's sought after in Minecraft in survival worlds, and it only goes to 1 level as well. It's just 1 level that you can get, and it will repair your armor once you get experience. And the third one is the Curse of Vanishing. So this can be applied to anything, I think, and it just means that once you actually try to use the item, it'll disappear. So for example, if I was to have it on my sword and I hit something with my sword with Curse of Vanishing, my sword would disappear. It would just be gone out of my hand. It's the same with armor. If someone were to hit you with just even their fist and you had a Curse of Vanishing chest plate, your chest plate would disappear. It's the same with tools. If you break a block, the tool will disappear. So yeah, Curse of Vanishing, not a great enchantment because it is a curse. It's a negative enchantment basically. So these are the enchantments that can be applied to armor, only armor. So the first one we got here is Curse of Binding, and Curse of Binding means that you can't take off your armor unless it either breaks on durability or you die yourself in the game. There's no other way to remove the armor. You can't take it off unless you're in creative as well. Creative, you can take it off, but in survival there's no way to take it off without it either breaking or you dying. So those are the only 2 options for you then. Next one is Protection. Protection goes from levels 1 to 4. Protection is kind of the most sought after enchantment for armor in Minecraft because it works on everything. If someone were to hit you, you take less damage. If you're in lava, take slightly less damage. If you get hit by something, projectile, take slightly less damage. Everything like that. It's all protection that helps with those things. It goes up to level 4 and can be applied to any piece of armor. The next one is Projectile Protection, and as I said, projectiles will do less damage with protection, but with projectile protection, it does nothing if you get hit with a melee weapon. So if a zombie hits you, it'll do nothing. Basically, it doesn't affect that at all. But if a skeleton were to shoot you, you take a lot less damage because projectile protection is really good against projectiles, but it doesn't do anything against melee. It goes from levels 1 to 4. And blast protection, especially useful against creepers, and TNT, of course, and gas fireballs and wither skulls. So blast protection goes from levels 1 to 4, and it doesn't really protect against projectiles or melee, but it'll protect you a lot against explosions and like TNT, as I said, and creepers, stuff like that. It goes from levels 1 to 4. The next one is fire protection. Fire protection is very good, especially if you fall in lava. You take a lot less damage per second if you fall in lava with fire protection, especially fire protection 4. It's really good against blazes. If you get set on fire, you take a lot less damage, and basically you get a longer time in between each tick of fire as well. So yeah, it's very similar to fire resistance, except fire resistance is total immunity to fire, but it will use your durability, I believe. But fire protection is very good for anything relating to fire, and it goes from levels 1 to 4. And the next one is thorns. Thorns means that the armor that you're wearing it'll take a lot of durability when you get hit, but you also deal damage back to whatever hits you. So say a zombie hits you, and when you have thorns on your armor, he'll take damage as well. He'll take the damage back. Especially if you have thorns 3, it'll do a lot more damage to him than if he were to hit you. So it goes from levels 1 to 3, and it will use a lot of your durability though. Keep that in mind. When you get hit with thorns, it uses a lot of durability on your armor, so it'll remove your durability really quickly, but you'll also deal damage back to your attacker, so it's kind of useful in that way. Respiration means that you can breathe for longer underwater, so it goes from levels 1 to 3, and you can apply it to your helmet, of course, and you basically get to, breathe for a little bit longer when you are swimming or whatever like that. And the other one is aqua affinity, and aqua affinity basically means that you can mine faster underwater. It's especially useful in guardian temples, for example, when you need to grab the gold from the center monument. Aqua affinity is very useful, helps you mine really quickly if you're in a sticky situation, because you do mine much faster, or you mine much slower underwater usually, but with aqua affinity you can mine a lot quicker and kind of counter that in a way. It only goes up to 1 level. And these are the enchantments that can only be applied to boots exclusively. So this one is feather falling. Feather falling basically means that you take a lot less fall damage when you fall in the game. So if you were to fall from maybe 6 blocks, you could take no damage if you have feather falling 4. However, you would take damage normally if you didn't have feather falling on your armor. It goes from levels 1 to 4. And you take a lot less damage if you fall from very high heights with feather falling. Like you could realistically survive like a 30 or 40 block fall if you have feather falling 4, but if you don't, you die of fall damage. That's just how it works. And yeah, very, very handy enchantment, especially if you're doing anything kind of up high above cliffs and stuff like that. The next one is Depth Strider. Depth Strider means that you can run in water, basically. So as of 1.8, this was added, and what it just allows you to do is you can run underwater, if that makes sense. Because obviously you move a lot slower underwater. I know this is kind of different in 1.13 now, but you did before, at least 1.8, you moved a lot slower underwater. It took forever to get anywhere. But with Depth Strider, you could basically run underwater the same you could on land. So Depth Strider goes from levels 1 to 3, and at level 3 you basically run as fast as you would as if you were on land. So it's very, very useful, and I think now it just means that you can swim a bit faster underwater as of 1.13. And finally, the last one we've got is Frostwalker. Frostwalker means that once you walk on water, you basically freeze the water that you walk on turns to ice, and you can kind of make a pathway for yourself. So I'll actually show these ones in demonstration. Okay, so on my left I've got the Frostwalker boots, and on my right I've got the Depth Strider boots. So as I said, Depth Strider allows you to basically run underwater in theory. So as you can see, I know it makes me swim, but if I don't swim, I do move a lot faster. Like I'm running very quickly actually. This is walking speed, remember? I'm not sprinting at all, and I'm moving very quickly when I'm just walking underwater. If I take them off, as you can see, I move like a snail, an absolute snail without them. But if I put them on, a lot quicker, as you can see. And I believe it also makes you swim a bit faster too if you get onto the ground of the water. Yeah, you can move a bit faster if you're on the seafloor or whatever. So that's basically what Depth Strider does. And if I were to grab the Frostwalker boots, and if I was to walk over the water will turn to ice, and it will decay actually as you leave it. So if I take off the boots, I'm now no longer able to turn the water to ice, but it should decay to It's not decaying. Why is it not decaying? Okay, I don't know why that's happening, but usually the ice would, if you run over a river, the ice will kind of crack and go back to water gradually as you walk over it. So yeah, I don't know why it's not working here, but yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. And now moving on to the weapon enchantments. So the first one we've got here is sharpness. This is the basic one. This is the one you always want on your sword. Sharpness basically just increases the attack damage of your sword. So it used to be a case of every sharpness level would give you an extra 1.25 damage. That was changed to 1.9. So now sharpness 5 only gives you an extra 3 damage. So it doesn't stack. It only gives you an extra percentage every time. The first level of sharpness gives you an extra 1.25, but after that it's only like an extra point, I don't know, 0.5 or 0.75, something like that. But it's not as good as it used to be, basically. But it is still very good to have because it is just more attack damage. It's the only way to get more attack damage on your sword. So it goes from levels 1 to 5. The next one we've got is Smite. This is very useful against undead mobs, so skeletons, zombies, husks, wither skeletons, withers, I don't know, creepers aren't, endermen are, yeah, basically any undead mob you can think of. You'll have to Google the whole list yourself. I can't think of them off the top of my head. But basically it goes up to level 5 and it just does more damage against undead mobs. So Smite versus Sharpness is an interesting question because Smite is way better against undead mobs than Sharpness is. Sharpness works on everything. You do more damage in general, but Smite is exclusive to undead. So Smite won't do anything against, say, like a creeper or an illager or something like that. It won't do any extra damage against those guys. Sharpness will. So Smite will do like double the damage Sharpness will against undead mobs exclusively. So it goes levels 1 to 5. The next one is Bane of Arthropods. Bane of Arthropods means that you do more damage against spiders, and I think silverfish too, maybe. So cave spiders, regular spiders, silverfish, I think endermites might be included in that too. But yeah, basically all those mobs are very weak to Bane of Arthropods. Like you can one-shot a spider with Bane of Arthropods like 2 or 3, I think, if you have a diamond sword. So very, very strong, because spiders only have like 8 hearts anyway, I think. So yeah, Bane of Arthropods, really good enchantment. It goes from levels 1 to 5. The next enchantment is Sweeping Edge. This was added in 1.9, I believe, as well. And Sweeping Edge basically means that once you attack a mob in a group, so if there's like 3 mobs beside each other, like zombies or something coming for you, and you hit one of them, you get a sweep attack. Of course, that's normal on a sword, but you also do more damage to the other 2 mobs as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and actually show you for demonstration. Okay, so this sword has no enchantment. This sword has Sweeping Edge 3. So if we spawn in 3 husks beside each other, as you can see, if they... Okay, no, go back into the group. Go back into the group. If I hit one of them beside the other 2, okay, whatever, just do your own thing. I don't care. If I hit one beside another one, they both get sweeping attacked back. But it only does like half a heart or something to the other mob. It does like nothing. It does nothing compared to the other mob. That like this one will take a lot of damage. This one will take half a heart every time. But if I use Sweeping Edge, they will take a lot more damage if I attack them. So if I hit these guys, he took a lot of damage too. Like I attacked this guy, but he took a lot of damage as well. But you just can't see the damage really. So these husks are being very uncooperative, but it's fine. So I hit this guy, but the other ones are taking the damage too. Trust me. Yeah, it's hard to line up Sweeping Edge sometimes, but if the mobs are really grouped together, you can really make use of the extra sweep damage. Yeah, like that guy died from the sweep attack because it was so strong. That's kind of how that works. And the next enchantment is Fire Aspect. Fire Aspect lights the mob that you hit on fire, whether it be a passive mob or a hostile mob. It'll be lit on fire for a certain amount of time once you hit them with Fire Aspect. So Fire Aspect 1 is a couple of seconds. Fire Aspect 2 is, I think, twice the duration. So if you hit them with Fire Aspect 2, they'll be on fire for a good while, and the only way to extinguish them is with water. So yeah, that's kind of the only way to do that, and it goes up as far as level 2. Oh, I also meant to mention, you can actually get cooked foods from passive mobs with Fire Aspect. So if you were to hit a cow and the cow lights on fire and then dies while it's on fire with the Fire Aspect, it will drop cooked beef instead of raw beef. So it's a way to get kind of cooked food straight away without actually cooking it too. And the next one is Knockback. Knockback is basically just a way to, as it describes, give more knockback in the game. So like this is the regular knockback in Minecraft, not very far. If I use knockback, he would go maybe back to here or something. Knockback 2, that is. So yeah, knockback, very good enchantment to have if you're, especially for PvP. I know for Skywars, knockback is like insane to have because you can just send players absolutely flying. Because they just take so much knockback, they just get off the map. That's the point. That's what you want to do. You want to make them go back further when you hit them. So that's kind of the whole purpose of knockback, and it goes up as far as level 2. The next one is looting. Looting can actually be applied to axes as well, I think, yeah. And looting basically just means that you get more drops from mobs and rarer drops from mobs when you kill them with looting. So when you're getting wither skeleton skulls in Minecraft, typically people always use looting 3. Because there's a way higher chance to get a wither skeleton skull from a wither skeleton if you use looting 3, because it's only like a 3% chance or something if you attack them normally, whereas it's a 9% chance, I think, if you kill them with looting 3 to get a wither skeleton skull off of them. So looting 3, very good to have. You get more potions off of witches, you get sometimes iron ingots off of zombies, and just other rare drops from mobs too, and you get more of regular drops like rotten flesh, for example, when you attack them with looting 3 and kill them. And it goes up as far as level 3. So these enchantments can only be obtained on the Trident, added at 1.13. So the first one is Impaling, and Impaling used to be really good. It used to do more damage against everything, but they nerfed it, so it only does more damage against sea creatures now. Sea creatures include squid, fish, drowned, guardians, elder guardians, dolphins, that kind of thing. But yeah, it used to be a lot better, but they did nerf it quite a bit. So it'll do a lot more damage, obviously, against those mobs because it's Impaling 5. It goes up as far as level 5. It's basically sharpness for your trident, because I don't think tridents can get sharpness. The next enchantment is Loyalty. Loyalty means that your trident will return to you when you throw it. I'll actually demonstrate that really quickly. So this trident has Loyalty. If I throw the trident, it will hit the ground and slowly come back to me. But if I have Loyalty 3, it'll be a lot faster coming back to me than if I were to wait with Loyalty 1. Where did that go? Okay, there we go. That took a long time. But Loyalty 3 is much faster. It'll kind of come back to you nearly instantly as soon as it hits the target. But Loyalty 1, very slow, as you can see. And the next enchantment is Riptide, and Riptide is very, very cool actually, because you hold down right click to throw your trident and it launches you forward, assuming that the weather is thundery. So it has to be raining and thunder for this enchantment to actually work, which kind of sucks, but it is very, very cool once you do get it working, because you can launch yourself very, very far with the Riptide enchantment. And Riptide 3 means you can launch yourself very, very far when you do hold down right click and launch. So it of course goes from levels 1 to 3. Oh, sorry, I meant to say this also works in water, of course, because you know it's a trident. So if you're underwater and you hold down right click, you can launch yourself up out of the water too and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. And the final enchantment for tridents is Channeling, and Channeling only works in thundery weather, thundery rain kind of weather. You know what I'm talking about. But basically this means that when you throw your trident at a mob while it's thundery weather, lightning will strike that mob. So very, very strong attack, assuming the weather is thundery. So 2 of these enchantments are only useful really if it's thundery or if you're underwater for one of them. But yeah, it's kind of sucks that it's only depending on the weather. So the weather has to be a certain way, but it is still very strong enchantment, and it's really, really cool too. So these enchantments can only be applied to bows. The first one is Power. Power just means more damage. It's the same as it's the sharpness equivalent for bows, basically. And Power 5 means that you could do basically double the damage of a bow with the same shot. So it goes from levels 1 to 5, and it just means more damage in your arrow. The next one is Punch. Punch is the same thing as Knockback for swords. It just launches your like the thing that you attack further back when you hit it with the arrow. So if I were to hit a cow with an arrow, it'll be launched back a lot further if I use Punch 2 than it would if I didn't use Punch, if that makes sense. So it goes from levels 1 to 2. And the next enchantment is Flame. Flame basically is the same thing as Fire Aspect for bows. You basically shoot an arrow that's on fire, and that arrow can set other mobs on fire. I can also ignite TNT and stuff like that. So very, very good enchantment. It's not the same as setting like the grass on fire. You know, it won't like set a tree on fire. It's not like a fire flint and steel. It's just a flame arrow. It sets mobs on fire kind of exclusively, and it only has 1 level. And the next enchantment is Infinity, and this is kind of the most sought after enchantment, I suppose. That and Power when it comes to bows, because Infinity means that you never need more arrows to fire your bow again. it's so good to have because you don't have to keep crafting arrows all the time. You need to just have one arrow in your quiver, and then you'll have unlimited arrows as long as your bow has more durability to keep going. And it only has one level, of course, because you get infinity no matter what. But as long as you have one arrow, you can keep firing as many arrows as you want in your inventory. You just have one arrow in your inventory, and you can fire as many as you want. It's a really good enchantment to have. It only has one level, of course. And these enchantments are for crossbows only. So the first one is piercing. Piercing basically means that your arrows or your bolts, your crossbow bolts, will go through mobs when you shoot them. So it has a chance to go through up to 3 mobs, I think, at a time. And it goes as far as piercing 4. So the amount of damage you do when the arrow goes through mobs depends on the level of piercing you have. So when it goes through the first mob, it'll be a good bit less damage. But if you have piercing 4, it'll be more damage on the second mob than it would be if you didn't have piercing, if that makes sense. So it goes up as far as piercing 4. And the next one is quick charge. Quick charge means you can reload your crossbow faster, because with crossbows you have to hold down right click for a second or two, and then you can shoot your arrow. But with quick charge, it's very, very quick. It's like 0.2 of a second or something to reload your crossbow before firing it. So quick charge 3 is really, really good because you can just kind of spam arrows at that stage nearly. You reload so fast. So of course it goes from levels 1 to 3. And the next one is multi-shot. And multi-shot is very, very cool because it allows you to fire up to 3 arrows at once, I think. Yeah, it's 3 arrows at once when you fire a normal shot, basically. So you shoot in 3 directions when you shoot once with a crossbow. And you have the opportunity to hit 3 mobs that way. Or if you're up close enough, you can hit the same mob 3 times with all 3 arrows. And it only has 1 level. So these enchantments can only be applied to tools. The first one is efficiency. Efficiency makes everything mine faster. So your pickaxe will mine blocks faster. Your axe will mine, your pickaxe will mine stone and ores faster and stuff like that. And your axe will mine logs faster. Your shovel will mine dirt faster. And your hoe will mine like leaves and stuff faster. I think it is now as of 1.16. But yeah, the more efficiency you have, the faster your tool will mine different assorted blocks. That's dependent on that tool to mine them. And it goes up as far as efficiency 5. And the next one is fortune. Fortune basically means you get more rare or like ore drops when you mine certain ores. So like say if I were to mine diamond ore, I have the chance to get up to like 4 diamonds from 1 block if I use Fortune 3. And I have the opportunity to get, I think, up to 2 if I use Fortune 1 and 3 if I use Fortune 2. So the more Fortune levels you have, the more chance you have of getting more like ores from your when you're mining ore blocks, if that makes sense. And it goes up as far as Fortune 3. And the next one is Silk Touch, and Silk Touch just means that you can basically whatever tool you're using, you can harvest a block in its natural form. So with leaves, you can harvest leaves with Silk Touch shears. You can literally just grab like leaf blocks and place them down or whatever like that. But if you mine shears normally, or if you mine leaves normally, they just disappear. And you can use Silk Touch to harvest ores too with a pickaxe. You can use them to get glass, because if you break glass normally, it just disappears. But if you use a Silk Touch pickaxe, you can harvest the glass back and get it into your inventory. And you can also pick up ores without them turning into diamonds or coal or redstone or stuff straight away when you mine them. So it only has 1 level, of course. And the next one is fishing rods only. So the first one we have is Luck of the Sea. Luck of the Sea goes up to level 3, and it basically just means that you get rarer drops from fishing. So you can get, for example, better loot, if that makes sense. You can get enchanted books, you can get enchanted fishing rods, you can get name tags, you can get leads, I think, and you can just get better fish and stuff like that. It's just, you get better drops. It's basically fortune for fishing rods in that sense, and it goes from level 1 to 3. And the final enchantment is Lure. Lure goes up from level 1 to 3, and it just means that you get pulls on your fishing rod faster when you have Lure on it. So there's usually quite a long wait in between your bobber being in the water and then getting a pull on the bobber. So there's a fish or something on the line, and there's usually quite a long time it takes for that to happen. But with Lure, that time is a lot less. So if you have Lure 3, you'll only have to wait maybe 3 or 4 seconds before a fish will come along every time. It could be a bit more, it depends obviously, but it takes a longer time if you don't have Lure than if you do. So Lure just means you can fish faster in a nutshell. And it goes from levels 1 to 3. So yeah, this was a much longer video than I anticipated. My voice is absolutely killing me after it, but hopefully that did enlighten some of you who have never enchanted before or anything like that on what each enchantment does in Minecraft. I hope this was of some use to you at least. I know there's a new enchantment with 1.16 actually called Soul Speed that just came out, so I didn't get to cover it sadly. But yeah, there's one called Soul Speed. It just means you can run faster on Soul Sand and Soul Soil. So that's basically what that does as well. But yeah, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you did watch to the end, oh my god, you're a hero, because this is going to be a very long video, I already know. So yeah, hopefully that was of some use to you. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're brand new. And there's also a tutorials playlist on my channel with more guides like this on how to breed different mobs and find different ores in the game. If you are interested in something like that, make sure to go check that playlist out. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.